What's going on, guys? Thank you for tuning back in today for another deck profile. We have Finn here showcasing his 6th place, I believe, was it?
Yes, 6th
Just past regionals, online regionals last Sunday with Katakuri, man. So without ado, take us away.
So, obviously, Katakuri's been quite a consistent deck going through OPO 3, OPO 4. I did make a couple of adjustments, and thanks to Nick as well from PXV, he's helped me adjust the deck list around, and I found one that really works for me. To start off is obviously we've got the 4K, we've got the 4 of the Estrutions, 2K counter. He's just a really useful unit to have, especially into the matchup with Law and Whitebeard when they drop a lot of one-cost blockers. It's nice to finish off the game. I personally don't like using them to take out any of their searches for Law specifically because you're pitching a 2K counter and another card. So the value just isn't worth trying to just get it away that early. Obviously we've got the staple of Pudding as your searcher, search top 4 just to look through. 4 Thunderbolts, very useful event to have, especially coming off trigger from life, being able to KO a 5-cost unit or less. Sometimes it's nice to play it out from hand, but losing the life is a bit of a risk depending on what state the board is in. So I personally try to reserve it and then use it to pitch out with, obviously you'll see 3 Shirahoshis later to cycle through cards.
Yep.
A little bit of a different one. I'm running 2 of the Charlotte Amandes as the 2K counter. I know some people prefer to use Sanji and maybe more copies of Sanji. I just have kept 2 of her in as the extra insurance in case I don't see Struce, and I can take out some of the 1-cost or 2-cost blockers.
Okay, I was going to say, yeah, what did that make you go this way instead of Sanji?
because of the fact that I keep fighting a lot of Laws, a lot of Whitebeards at the current meta, and I needed something to get around the turtle when they have the 1 turn off lethal. You're both sitting at that stage of you either kill them this turn or you lose. I like to have that little bit of insurance. And if you're at a safer state, then you can play that down. Then we're moving on to the Capones. Obviously 2K counter and stopping anything from attacking when coming off of life. Just really nice to come into a clutch situation, especially if you cycled it down to the bottom using Katakuri's leader ability. You can just place it around, so I'll take this hit intentionally to then stop this massive hit that's going to be coming down the line, and it usually screws up the opponent's attack pattern and maybe causes them to shift Don around, letting you survive in a different spot.
Cool.
Going through, we all have the 4 Peril Sparrows, just a solid unit all round.
This guy's the MVP of the deck, right?
Oh yeah, no, 100% is the MVP of the deck. He's sticky, you can take him off trigger, place him on your field, then if they try to swing and take him out, he's just a free card search to allow you to look for your bigger units, as well as sometimes your searches or events when you need to. So very nice. The only complaint I have about him is the no counter, because if he's stuck on the bottom of your life, you look at him and you go, well, this is absolutely worthless to me, because you've just drawn second last or last life, you have no counter, and if you play him out, you lose an extra card from hand, and your opponent then can see, he's taken a no counter card out of his hand. It's now easier for them to calculate the exact amount of Dom they need to use to lethal you. So sometimes I just take him into hand to make my opponent think he has more cards in hand for potential counter.
Okay.
Going through to Shirahoshi, just a very nice unit to come off of trigger, cycling through your hand as well as drawing an extra card. Especially nice when, for some reason, you have multiple Thunderbolts sitting in hand. You don't want to play them out because you're losing too much life, and they're just sitting there dead, they're useless to you. So having her to cycle through is very nice. Plus being able to use your 8-drop Katakuri to bounce them back onto your life, to then continue the cycle through to find exactly what you need to use. And providing that extra 1 life buffer as well is very nice. And that's the exact same for Brule. I'm running 3 of her, some people run 2, some people run 4, but I just found this is more consistent with the way I like to play, having 3 instead of 4.
So 3 is a good number, you feel it's comfortable, it's where it's at.
You see her often enough with 3.
Yeah.
I just feel personally that having 2 in the deck is a bit worrying when sometimes you really would like to rely on that defensive trigger when you have no counter cards in hand and you've drawn into bigger units. You want something to play down to be able to protect you, especially off of life. Cracker, I dropped originally from 4 to 3 because I found, especially in the Whitebeard matchup, I didn't want to play down 4 Don on turn 2. just to try play out Cracker when you have to attach Don to him to a swing, and at the current state of the meta, especially with Law being a 4-life leader and Whitebeard constantly losing life at the time, you're never going to fully utilise his plus 1000 double attack.
Yeah.
Yes, it's nice to play off of Trigger for an extra body, which can certainly help, but I dropped him down for just replacing it to maybe buff up the numbers of my Shirahoshi or my Brules.
Still a really good threat on the board when you get him off trigger as well. So
Very
it can
nice
be,
threat.
you know, something for your opponent to play around, and it kind of gives you that sort of more of that advantage, so to speak, right?
Yeah, it's very nice, especially if maybe on the first or second hit, if you can get him down early, very nice. But at later stages of the game, especially when hand size is low, playing him out can sometimes be a detriment as well, because it makes it easier for them to count.
Very situational.
Very situational, but still very nice. Then I've got two of the vanilla units. We've got Randolph as a 5/7 and Perospero as a 6/8.
Self-explanatory there.
Pretty self-explanatory.
yeah.
Vanilla units. Randolph is particularly nice when you're forced to go first. It makes the first curve a lot nicer. You can go Pudding into Perospero, into Randolph, into Seven Mum, into Yamato,
Yeah.
which I obviously am running a couple of copies.
Cool.
We've got Sanji as our blocker as well, just the same kind of deal as Brule, just a really nice unit to have on life, being able to pitch one, so getting rid of a no counter card, and then playing out a blocker, especially a 5k unit. You can even use him to swing in certain situations, but having them there, him as a lightning rod for the enemy, they either have to use removal to get rid of him, or have to play around their attack pattern when they're trying to lethal you around the Sanji,
Yeah.
which is quite nice.
Awesome.
I'm running two of the Charlotte Linlins.
Now, why two?
Specifically, I'm running two because it's nice into the mirror matchup. I find, especially since primarily you will want to go second as Katakuri, as you have a much better curve off going second with your 8-drop and your 10-drop. But having the 7 there evens out my curve if I'm supposed to go first, as well as if you're at a crucial point in the game. For example, if in one of my games I was at 3-3, we were both at 3 life, I play down Charlotte Linlin, it then drastically changes the tempo of the game, because if they've moved a trigger up, they know they either have to get rid of it, but giving me that extra life provides a much better buffer for me then to get to the 10 stage as well as them, because they want to primarily try to reach that 10 stage and out-drop using their bigger units. The Linlin causes that tempo shift and makes it more difficult for them to continue to play, because they're like, oh, we may have given him an extra trigger or a blocker to play around. So there's that risk, but if they take their own life, then it's much easier for me to continue through.
Cool.
And it increases their risk of them dying if they want to play their 10 drop, because 10 drop is a very big unit, especially when you have to swing base values, drop 10 drop. Yes, you gain a life and they trash a life, putting a 2 life deficit, but then they've got nothing else for that turn. If you still have a higher board, you can load up on Dong and swing wide, and they'll probably lose the game if you force them into that position.
Alright.
I'm running 3 Katakuris. I feel like Katakuri does need to be seen in this deck, so having 3 provides enough consistency. I'm not running 4, personally, because most of the higher cost units don't have any counter, and if you have multiple of them in hand, it can brick your hand, and it feels quite frustrating when you have these good units in hand, but they have absolutely no counter, and playing one down means you have very minimal Don left to play around with to maybe take out an opposing threat.
Hence why she comes in handy.
Hence why, yes, Shirahoshi is incredibly
Shirahoshi's good there.
great in that situation.
Alright, it looks like you're running Yamato.
Oh, yes, running 2 Yamatos is quite nice.
2's good, yep.
I personally find it sometimes I drop her over Big Mum purely for the fact that at that stage of the game, if they're at higher life, I can use it to regenerate 1 life when I'm at 1, but also KO any potential vanillas or blockers that they have, providing an even greater presence. And for example, in one game, it was such a slow starting game where we both counted out early and there was no real pressure from either of us. He dropped his 7-drop Linlin, and then immediately the next turn I dropped my Yamato and KO'd it instantly, because our combined total was, I believe, at 8 at that point.
Oh, okay.
So I got rid of a big threat unit just by playing down another one. So I don't use her just for life generation, I use her for KO potential.
Yeah, for board clearance and stuff, so you can, it's good to have that board control.
Very nice
100%.
to have.
Alright.
Obviously, the most basic unit of the deck.
The big bomb
Limit.
itself.
Yep, you stay high at life, you look at your opponent, you start dropping them consecutively and watch the tears fall down their
Yeah,
face.
we know what she does. I'm sick of
Exactly.
it. No, yeah, that's good. All right, man. That's an awesome profile. So, yeah, did you want to run through your matches real quick as well?
Some of the matches that I had over the weekend, I versed 3 mirror matches. 2 of them I went second, and 1 of them I went first.
Yep.
And especially in the match going first, going into the curve of the searching into Perospero and playing down Perospero, then allows me to get a pressure off by swinging, and that comfort knowing that even if it gets taken out, I can search for anything else I need at that current time. Unfortunately, the only loss that I had was against Whitebeard, but my opponent played really well, and he had 1k counter over my final attack, so that's what won him the game.
Yeah.
But other than that, it was a good experience.
Cool. Nah, it's great, man. 7-1. That's an impressive feat, especially for an online regionals. We're extremely proud of you, man, representing Perth that way as well. So keep up the good work, bro. Any shout-outs before we leave?
Obviously, shouting out PX3 because I've had plenty of support from them, and especially when going up against practice matches, especially with the locals as well, with Hayden and Aiden. They've been great in helping me prepare, especially against the Whitebeard matchup. That's probably the reason why I got so far in that Whitebeard match, was the continual practice I had against them.
Yeah.
But other than that, everyone in the Perth community, they've been great.
We're all a good bunch of lads here.
Yes, exactly.
We're all a big family here for One Piece. We absolutely love it. So big shout out to our guys here, Beyond Odyssey as always, and Eternal Magic. Also, shout out to Indy there, TCT man. You've been there since the beginning. Thank you very much for your love and support. And if you guys love this, remember to tune in, to like and subscribe, and to hit that bell to stay notified. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks, Finn.
Thank you.